Hello and welcome to Gabbett Media. I'm Grant Abbott and today we're looking at the Veikk 1200 pen display. If you like this sort of video, I've got lots in a playlist called Kit and Reviews, so you can check out the things that I'm using there and the things that I recommend. So first of all, this is a display tablet, so you must have it plugged into a computer of some sort, a laptop or something like that, in order for it to work. It doesn't stand alone as a PC by itself. It's currently £220, which is the same in dollars, and it's on the lower end of the sort of pricing for pen display tablets. And it's got some really good specs. So first of all, it's 12 inches across, so that's quite a small drawing area. It's not too bad, but I prefer something bigger myself if you're working on it for a long time. It's got a laminated screen, and that's quite special for something around this price range. A laminated screen means that the screen is thinner and therefore you have less parallax, so when you're pushing your pen down, it's actually hitting the surface rather than this piece of glass. So that gap can sometimes cause problems. It's much easier when you've got a thinner gap, and in this case it does. It has the laminated screen, which lots of other brands have it in only in their Pro versions. So this is coming in their sort of basic version. It's also got tilt support, so when you tilt your pen it can do different things dependent on the program. Lots of people don't use it and don't need it, but it is often something that's only reserved for the Pro versions of certain brands. So that's something, again, going for the Veikk, especially at this price. It's got 6 programmable buttons down the side, it's got 8,000 levels of pressure sensitivity and all those sort of things that you'd expect to see. So what comes in the box? Well, it's got 2 pens for some reason, probably just in case one breaks, and it doesn't cost much for them to ship out 2, I suppose. They come in a nice carry case, so that's nice. It's got a pen holder, and in the pen holder you can put your spare nibs and you can kind of place your pen on your surface upright, and that looks all nice. It's got a glove, which is nice as well, and all the leads that you'd expect. Oh, and lots of replacement nibs, absolutely masses of replacement nibs as well. Okay, so how is it in drawing programs and 3D programs alike? Well, I tried it in both Krita and Blender, and it worked absolutely fine. There were no problems, which was rather surprising with a display tablet. Usually you get something wrong somewhere along the line, but this time, plugged in, worked first time, no issues. It all felt quite a nice drawing experience. I didn't notice any pen wobble or any problems along those lines. Good calibration, which is something that's often a problem with these low budget ranges, so I'm pretty impressed there. Good pen pressure, again no issues, the pressure all worked really nice and it was as I expected. The only problem I would say is the pen was a little uncomfortable. The buttons on the pen were quite high up, so especially in Blender, where I use the middle mouse button as my pen button, so I'm moving around my canvas, or viewport I should say, with that middle mouse button, and having it high up meant I was just uncomfortable and I sort of had to have my finger quite high up. So that's one thing. If you're using Blender, it might be a drawback. It might just be something you'd get used to. And it might just be that I'm used to a sort of lower down button. So I'm not sure if that's a problem or not. It's certainly not a deal breaker in this case. And of course we've got that laminated screen, so the parallax is minimal, which you'd expect. You get that in all the sort of top-end Pro brands and so forth, so I was really pleased with that. So all in all, I'm pretty impressed. I suppose in terms of the calibration, it's difficult to tell sometimes on such a small tablet, so it doesn't matter so much if it's out slightly. But in this case, because it's a small tablet, you don't worry too much. But it did seem really good and there were no problems, so I'm very happy with it. In terms of their driver program, that's really great. It looks like it's got a left-handed option because you can rotate it round. And the programmable buttons, you can program them for different programs. So you can go into Krita, use certain shortcuts for your programmable buttons, and then move to Blender and have different ones. So again, those are things that are often reserved for the Pro range of a brand. So again, really, really good. So what are the downsides? Well, Veikk, you could argue, isn't as well known as, let's say, Wacom, which is the leading brand. Then you've got players like XP Pen or Huion and UG. Gammon is sort of a similar level to Veikk, and Artisol as well. They're sort of all the brands that you hear of, and Veikk are kind of down the list in terms of how well known they are. But I think that means they're kind of pushing the boundaries a bit more and trying to get out there and doing a good job, I've got to say. I have always been impressed with Veikk and the fact that they seem to just work straight out of the box, which is quite surprising for graphics tablets and display tablets alike. But what we don't know about is how long it will last and what the long-term support is like, because although these brands have been around for a little while now, we haven't had that sort of same user base that we do with something like Wacom. So you can kind of be assured with Wacom that you're going to get sort of follow-up support all the time. Having said that, from the feedback I've got, they seem to be doing pretty well along those lines, and like I say, it all works straight out of the box, which was really comfortable and nice to use. So what's my final thought, and would I buy this if I were just starting out? Well, I would say it's really good for the price, and I'd probably recommend this over every other one for the actual value in terms of the 12-inch range. It's got the laminated screen, so there's no parallax issues. It's got things like tilt support. You've got the drivers that you can use in different programs, as in the programmable buttons. And like I say, most of the time that's usually reserved for the Pro versions. So usually you get a much sort of cheaper version at this price range. So yes, if I were just starting out, I would be very tempted by this new offering from Veikk. The only thing I would say is the pen is slightly uncomfortable, so if you're going to be doing a lot of digital art, then that's something worth thinking about. I don't think it matters so much if it's 2D drawing, but for 3D, if you want to use that pen button, then this might not be for you. It's difficult to say because it might just be what I'm used to. And there is that issue of size. I would feel it a bit uncomfortable to be working on a 12-inch screen. It's just a bit small for me. So I'd be wanting to go for the sizes above this. So the fact that they're offering all these sort of pro elements in their sort of cheaper range now means that they're going to start doing it probably for the bigger tablets as well. Let's hope so anyway, because those are the ones I'd really want to go for. But like I say, if you're on a budget and you want a display tablet, this is absolutely fantastic in my opinion. So really well done to Veikk for packing all those pro elements into a budget pen display. Thanks very much for sending it to me. Thanks very much for you all out there watching, and I'll see you next time.